The rich girl ran to the cleaner, saying, "My mum fainted." Her reaction shocked everyone. Amanda Richardson felt her legs weaken as she gripped the edge of the gurney. The room spun around her, and her heart raced frighteningly fast. She tried to call for help, but no sound came out. That's when her daughter Emma, just 7 years old, came running down the hospital hallway with eyes wide in panic. The girl had stepped out for a minute to get water and now saw her mother about to faint. Without a second thought, Emma ran to the first person she saw. "Help!" the girl shouted, grabbing the arm of a red-haired woman in a red uniform who was cleaning the floor. "My mum fainted!" Sarah Miller dropped the mop immediately. Her 28 years of experience as a hospital employee had taught her to react quickly. She followed the girl in the yellow dress, her red hair swaying as she moved agilely through the hallway. When she reached the exam room, she found Amanda leaning on the gurney, her face pale and eyes half closed. Sarah quickly approached, but before she could help, the businesswoman opened her eyes completely and stared at her with an expression of fury. "What are you doing here?" Amanda's voice came out harsh, cutting. "I didn't call anyone." "Your daughter said you—" "Emma," Amanda interrupted, turning to the girl. "You went to get a cleaner." "A cleaner?" The silence that followed was heavy. Sarah felt her face burn. Other people began to appear at the door, nurses and doctors drawn by the commotion. Everyone was looking at the scene. "I was just trying to help," Sarah said softly. "Help?" Amanda straightened up on the gurney, quickly regaining her composure. "You think a cleaner can help with something doctors are handling? What kind of education am I giving my daughter if she runs to get the first person in a uniform she sees?" The words fell like whips. Sarah lowered her head, feeling the pitying looks from her colleagues. She had been through this before, but never in front of so many people. "I'm sorry for bothering you," she murmured, turning to leave. "Wait!" Emma's thin voice echoed. The girl let go of her mother's hand and ran to Sarah, holding onto the red uniform. "Don't go!" "Emma, come here right now," ordered Amanda. But the girl didn't let go. She looked at Sarah with eyes full of tears. "You were going to help my mom. I saw you weren't scared." Something tightened in Sarah's chest. She knelt to the child's height and wiped a tear running down her rosy face. "It's okay, little one. Your mom is better now." "Emma," I said, "come here." Amanda's voice was louder now. The girl finally let go of Sarah and went back to her mother, but before she did, she whispered something only the cleaner could hear. "I need to tell you a secret later." Sarah nodded slightly and left the room. The hallways of Mercy Medical Center were all too familiar. 16 years working there had made her practically invisible. People passed by her every day and rarely truly saw her. But that public humiliation had been different. She returned to the cleaning cart and resumed her work. The shiny marble floor reflected the fluorescent lights from the ceiling. Sarah scrubbed with automatic movements, but her mind was far away. She thought about how she had ended up there. At 52, she never imagined she would still be cleaning hospitals. But life had other plans. After David passed away 8 years ago, everything changed. The apartment had to be sold to pay the medical bills. The dreams of going back to school evaporated along with the savings. "Mari, don't mind what she said." Nancy, one of the senior nurses, stopped beside her. "Dr. Richardson is known for being difficult." "Doctor?" "She's not a doctor, but she has a PhD in business administration. She runs Richardson Enterprises. She comes here for routine checkups whenever she can escape the office." Sarah Miller just nodded. She didn't want to prolong the subject. However, in the following days, something strange began to happen. Emma would appear whenever Sarah was working on the 4th floor. The girl would come running down the hallway, her yellow dress fluttering, bringing colorful drawings. "Look what I made," the child would say, holding out a paper with childish scribbles. "It's you cleaning the floor, see? I drew your red hair." Sarah would smile, not quite knowing how to react. She accepted the drawings and tucked them into her uniform pocket. "Does your mother know you're here?" "She's in the doctor's office. It takes a long time." Emma would sit on the floor next to the cleaning cart. "Do you have children?" The question caught Sarah off guard. She stopped scrubbing. "No, sweetie." "Why not?" "Sometimes things just don't happen." Emma swung her legs, her white shoes kicking in the air. "I wish I had a sister, but my mum says she's too busy to have more kids. She's always busy." There was a sadness in the child's voice that Sarah recognized well. It was loneliness disguised as acceptance. "I'm sure your mother loves you very much." "She loves work," Emma said with brutal honesty. "But it's okay. Grandpa always said work was important." "Your grandfather? He passed away last year." The girl said the phrase as if rehearsed, like she'd heard it many times. "Mommy was very sad, but she doesn't cry. She says crying is a waste of time." Sarah felt a pang in her heart. She knew what it was like to hold in pain. In their subsequent encounters, Emma began bringing cookies hidden in her backpack. "I got them from our kitchen at home," she'd whisper conspiratorially. "Martha, our cook, makes the best chocolate chip cookies. You shouldn't be sneaking food, Emma. But you work so hard, I bet you don't eat right." The observation left Sarah speechless. How could a 7-year-old be so perceptive? One day, while waiting for her mother to finish another appointment, Emma started talking more about home. "You know, sometimes my mom acts weird," the girl said, swinging her legs while sitting on the hallway bench. "Weird how?" "She forgets things. The other day she forgot she promised to pick me up from school. The principal had to call 3 times, and she takes a lot of medicine." "Medicine?" Sarah tried to keep her voice casual. "She hides it in the bathroom. Thinks I don't see, but I do. There are lots of little bottles." The custodian felt a twinge of concern, but it wasn't her place to question. She was just the cleaning staff. She had no right to intrude into the life of a wealthy businesswoman. But Emma kept appearing, and each conversation revealed a little more. The girl talked about her mother working late, about lonely dinners, about harsh words that came from Amanda's mouth when she was tired. "But I know she's sad inside," Emma said once, with a wisdom beyond her years. "Ever since Grandpa passed away, she's changed." Sarah began observing Amanda from a distance when she saw her in the hallways. The woman always walked hurriedly, talking on the phone, her clothes impeccable, but her face etched with tension. There were faint dark circles beneath her expensive makeup. One morning, Sarah was cleaning Dr. Elizabeth Parker's empty office when she saw a forgotten folder on the desk. The name on the cover caught her attention: Amanda Richardson. She knew she shouldn't. She knew tampering with patient documents was a serious violation. But something stronger drove her. Maybe it was the image of Emma, that sweet girl who needed so much attention. Maybe it was the memory of David, and how she wished someone had paid attention to the signs. Sarah opened the folder. The tests showed concerning results. There were altered markers, notes about neurological symptoms, recommendations for immediate follow-up that appeared to be ignored. One word jumped off the page: progressive. Sarah's heart raced. She knew that kind of diagnosis. She knew it all too well. David had started that way, with small forgetfulness, with denial, with the certainty that work was more important than health. She quickly closed the folder, her hands trembling. What to do with that information? Tell someone. But who? She had no right to be there, much less to have read that. She put the papers away and continued cleaning, but her mind was racing. 2 weeks later, Sarah was organizing the supply closet when she heard quick footsteps. Amanda entered the office, visibly irritated, looking for something. "Where is it?" she murmured to herself, rummaging through her expensive bag. That's when she saw Sarah. "You!" The voice came out accusatory. "You were here that day, weren't you?" "What day, ma'am?" 2 weeks ago. You cleaned this office." Sarah felt her blood run cold. "Yes, I cleaned this floor." "My tests. There was a folder with my tests. Did you see it?" I saw the folder, yes. I returned it to the front desk." Liar. Amanda took a step forward. "The folder was missing for 2 days. Someone tampered with it. Was it you?" The hallway began to fill with people drawn by the loud voice. Sarah felt her heart racing. "I didn't touch anything that wasn't part of my job, ma'am." "Do you think I believe that? A simple cleaner snooping into other people's lives? I'm going to report you. I'll make you lose this job." That's when Emma came running down the hall, her eyes wide. "Mom, stop! Emma, this is none of your business." But it is. The girl placed herself between her mother and Sarah. She didn't do anything wrong. You're the one who's wrong. The silence was absolute. Amanda looked at her daughter as if she'd been slapped. What did you say? You hide medicine in the trash. Emma's words came pouring out. I saw it. You throw away the medicine the doctors tell you to take, and you lie to them. You say you're taking it, but you're not. Amanda's face paled. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Emma, she began, but her voice failed. And then it happened. Amanda's eyes rolled back slightly. Her body began to tremble. She tried to lean against the wall, but her legs didn't respond. Sarah didn't think. Years of experience took over. She ran and caught Amanda before she fell, supporting the woman's weight with surprising strength. "Someone call emergency!" she shouted, while carefully lowering Amanda to the floor. Emma was frozen with fear, but Sarah remained calm. She turned Amanda on her side, checked her breathing, loosened the collar of her expensive blouse. Her hands moved with precision, as if they had never stopped doing that. A doctor came running, followed by nurses. Sarah moved away to give them space, but kept her eyes on Amanda. The woman began to regain consciousness, confused and disoriented. What happened? You had an episode, Dr. Richardson, the doctor explained. We're taking you for observation. While they prepared the stretcher, Sarah noticed something no one else had seen. The sleeve of Amanda's blouse had ridden up, revealing a medical alert bracelet hidden under the luxury watch. She discreetly approached and read, "Family history of focal epilepsy. Do not interrupt medication." Everything suddenly made sense. The forgetfulness, the anger episodes, the hidden medicines. Amanda was avoiding treatment, probably out of fear of appearing weak. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out, now continuing. The doctor who arrived to attend was young, no more than 35. Sarah recognized him immediately, even though he hadn't seen her yet. Dr. Michael Thompson, the younger brother of Jennifer, her former sister-in-law. When Michael finally looked at her, recognition took a few seconds. Then his eyes widened. Sarah Miller. She just nodded. You work here? For 16 years. The surprise on his face was evident. Michael knew Sarah had been a nurse, one of the best. He had done his residency with her years ago, before everything fell apart. I need to talk to you later, he said quietly, before turning his attention to Amanda. Emma was clinging to Sarah's arm, trembling. The caretaker knelt beside the girl. Your mom is going to be okay, sweetie. That's a lie, Emma cried. She's sick and doesn't want to get better. She's going to disappear too, like Grandpa. Hey, look at me. Sarah held the child's face in her hands. Your mom isn't going anywhere. She just needs help, and now she's going to get it. Do you promise? Sarah hesitated. She shouldn't make promises like that, but looking into those fearful eyes, she couldn't help it. I promise I'll do everything in my power. They took Amanda for observation. Emma wanted to go along, but they didn't allow it. The girl stayed in the waiting room and Sarah stayed with her, even though she knew she had work to do. Did you know this was going to happen? Emma asked after a long silence. No, honey. But you weren't scared. You knew what to do. Sarah sighed. Maybe it was time to tell. I was a nurse, a long time ago. Why did you stop? Because someone very important to me got sick, and I couldn't save him. After that, I couldn't take care of people anymore. I was afraid of failing again. Emma processed the information seriously. But you helped my mum today. It was different. I didn't think. I just acted. Then you're still a nurse, even if you clean the floor. The innocence with which Emma said this brought tears to Sarah's eyes. A child had seen what no one else had. Michael appeared an hour later. Amanda was stable, but needed to be hospitalized for observation and medication adjustment. Can I talk to you? He asked Sarah. They went to a more private corner. Emma was dozing in the chair, exhausted from the emotion. How are you? Michael asked. Jennifer tried to reach out to you several times after David. I know. I just needed distance. I understand, He didn't seem to fully understand but respected it. "Sarah, I saw what you did today. It was impeccable. You still have the gift." "I'm not a nurse anymore, Michael." "But you could be again. There are re-entry programs, scholarships for professionals who want to return." "No," she cut in, more harshly than intended. "That part of my life is over." Michael looked at her with pity but didn't push. Instead, he changed the subject. "Ms. Richardson has a complicated condition. She has a family history of epilepsy, but her case is atypical. The seizures are mild but frequent. The problem is she doesn't follow the treatment. She forges prescriptions to get medication without proper monitoring." "Why?" "Fear, probably. She inherited a large company from her father. If the partners find out she has a neurological condition, they could use it to remove her from the presidency. So she hides, lies, self-medicates. She's making everything worse." Sarah looked at Emma, still sleeping in the chair. "And the girl?" "She lives alone with her mom. No other close family. If Amanda doesn't take care of herself—" He left the sentence hanging. "What are you trying to say, Michael?" "That she needs someone she can trust, someone who understands healthcare but can also be discreet, someone who's already proven they care." "No." Sarah was already shaking her head. "I'm not going back to taking care of anyone. Not even a child who's terrified of losing her mother. A child who sees you as a hero?" The words hit home. Sarah closed her eyes. "That's not fair, Michael. Life rarely is." Sarah stayed silent for a long moment. Finally, she sighed. "I'll think about it." In the following days, the situation got more complicated. Amanda woke up furious with herself and everyone else. She demanded to be discharged, refused to talk about treatment, threatened to sue the hospital for keeping her against her will. Emma visited every day after school. The girl would sit beside her mother and talk about her day, trying to make Amanda smile. But the woman was distant, lost in her own thoughts. "Mommy, when are you coming home? When are—" "Soon, honey." "Do you promise you'll take your medicine properly?" Amanda didn't answer. She just looked out the window. Sarah watched from afar while cleaning the hallway. She recognized that look. David had the same one when he refused help, when he insisted he could handle things on his own. One afternoon, Amanda asked to speak with her. Sarah entered the room hesitantly. "You saved my life," Amanda said bluntly. "I should thank you, but honestly, I'm angry." "Angry?" "You humiliated me. A cleaning lady knew more about first aid than I knew about myself. You saw my weakness." "It wasn't weakness. It was a medical emergency." "To you, maybe it's different. To me, it's the same thing." Amanda crossed her arms. "My daughter won't stop talking about you. Sarah this, Sarah that. Did she tell you things about me?" "Emma worries about you." "That's not what I asked." Sarah took a deep breath. "She mentioned that you take medication, that you hide some, that you forget things sometimes." Amanda closed her eyes, her jaw tight. "My 7-year-old daughter noticed what I tried to hide from everyone. Children are more observant than we think." "Do you have children?" "No." "Then you don't know what it's like to carry the weight of keeping a child safe, fed, with a guaranteed future. You don't know what it's like to inherit a company with 50 employees depending on you. You don't know what it's like to hear whispers that you're only in your position because you're the founder's daughter." Amanda's voice trembled slightly. "I can't appear weak. I can't give ammunition to the partners who want me out. I can't disappoint my father's memory." "But you can disappoint your daughter." The words came out harsher than Sarah intended. Amanda stared at her with eyes bright with unshed tears. "I'm protecting my daughter. If I lose the company, I lose everything. I lose the house, the private school, her future. Have you ever thought that Emma might prefer less money and a healthy mother? You don't understand, you don't know my world." "You're right," Sarah said calmly. "I don't know your world of important meetings and million-dollar deals, but I know what it's like to lose someone because of stubbornness. I know what it's like to look back and realize that pride cost a life." Amanda quickly wiped her eyes. "Your husband?" "My husband?" He thought working while sick was a sign of strength, that asking for help was weakness. When he finally agreed to see a doctor, it was too late. Silence filled the room. "I don't want to die," Amanda whispered. "I'm so scared, but I'm also scared of living with this imperfection, my brain that betrays me. It's not imperfection. It's a condition that can be controlled, but only if you accept help." Amanda looked at her own hands. "The doctors say I need someone to monitor my medication. Someone trustworthy, who can be around without raising suspicions. They suggested a private nurse, but that would be like shouting to the world that I'm sick." Sarah knew where this was going. "You're asking me? I know it's absurd. You're a custodian, not a nurse. But you have experience, and Emma trusts you, and I have no one else." The confession seemed to cost Amanda a great deal. "I need to think. I'll pay you well. In addition to your hospital salary, you'd get extra for—" "It's not about the money," Sarah interrupted. "It's about— I swore I'd never take care of anyone again. Not after David. Not after failing. You didn't fail today. Today was different. It was instinct. But what about when it's not? When I have to make decisions, monitor symptoms, handle crises? What if I fail again?" Amanda looked directly into her eyes. "Then we'll be even." Two women terrified by their own fear. There was a brutal honesty in those words that disarmed Sarah. For the first time, she saw Amanda not as the arrogant businesswoman, but as a scared woman trying to survive. "I need time to think. You have 3 days. That's how long they're giving me before they force me to hire someone or take responsibility for the situation. And if it's anyone connected to the hospital, the news will leak. It always does." Sarah left the room with her mind racing. She spent the next 3 days in internal conflict. At night, lying in her small apartment, she stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep. David appeared in her thoughts. The final weeks at the hospital, when she desperately tried to save him. The feeling of helplessness when she realized it wouldn't be enough. The promise she made to herself to never go through that again. But Emma appeared too. That sweet girl who drew portraits and brought hidden cookies, who needed stability so much. On the 3rd day, Sarah went to visit Jennifer. The former sister-in-law was surprised to see her after so long. "Sarah," Jennifer hugged her tightly, "you have no idea how good it is to see you." They talked about trivialities for a few minutes before Sarah got straight to the point. "Did Michael tell you about the situation at the hospital?" "He did. And I know he offered you reintegration programs. You should accept, Sarah. You were a wonderful nurse." "Were. Past." "Just because David—" Jennifer stopped, choosing her words carefully. "What happened to David wasn't your fault. You know that, don't you?" Sarah didn't answer. "I distanced myself from you after the funeral," Jennifer continued, "and I regret it so much. You needed support, and I was dealing with my own pain of losing my brother. I failed you. No one failed anyone. Life happens. But life doesn't have to define you." Jennifer held Sarah's hands. "You can still come back. You can still save lives." "What if I fail again? What if you don't fail? What if you're exactly what someone needs?" The words echoed in Sarah during the journey back. When she got home, she had already made a decision. The next day, she sought out Amanda. "I accept, but with conditions." Amanda sat up straight in bed. "Which ones?" "First, you follow the treatment to the letter. No skipping medications, no hiding symptoms, no lying to the doctors." "I accept." "Second, when it's safe, you'll tell Emma the truth. She deserves to know her mother has a condition, but that she's being treated." Amanda hesitated but nodded. "Third, I continue working as a custodian. This is important to me. Taking care of you will be something extra, discreet. In the eyes of others, I'm just the employee who cleans your office and your home." "Why that condition?" "Because I need to keep my feet on the ground. I need to remember who I am now." Amanda studied Sarah's face for a long moment. "There's something else. Something you're not saying." Sarah took a deep breath. "I need you to understand that I'm not the same nurse I was before. I can take care of you, monitor your symptoms, make sure you take your medicine. But don't ask me to be your friend. Don't ask me to get emotionally involved that I cannot give." "Fair enough. They shook hands, sealing the agreement. In the following days, they began organizing the logistics. Sarah would adjust her hospital schedule to spend mornings at Amanda's house, where she'd have a small office disguised as a cleaning supply closet. There she'd maintain records of medications, symptoms, any changes in condition. To the outside world, she'd be the executive's new private caretaker, someone who handled house cleaning and the home office. Nobody would question it. Rich people had all kinds of staff. Emma was thrilled when she found out. "Are you going to live with us?" "No, sweetie. I'll be working at your house a few hours each day." "But will you be there in the morning when I wake up?" Sarah looked at Amanda, who gave a slight nod. "Yes, I'll be there." The girl jumped for joy. The first day at the Richardsons' house felt surreal. The apartment was enormous, a triplex in one of the city's best neighborhoods. Sarah felt out of place walking on the hardwood floors, surrounded by designer furniture. Martha, the cook Emma had mentioned, was a friendly, chatty woman in her 60s. "So you're the new caretaker?" she asked, serving Sarah coffee. "Welcome. Ms. Amanda is demanding but fair." Sarah smiled, accepting the cup. "Thanks for the tip." The routine gradually fell into place. Sarah arrived at 6 each morning. She prepared Amanda's medications, ensuring she took each one on time. She monitored for any signs of crisis, and she kept detailed notes. Amanda, for her part, held up her end of the bargain. She took her medications without complaint, reported any unusual symptoms, attended all her appointments. But keeping emotional distance proved harder than Sarah had imagined. Emma was impossible to resist. The girl followed her around the house, sharing stories from school, showing homework, asking for help choosing outfits. "My teacher said we're having a performance at the end of the month. Will you come watch?" "Emma, I work here. I'm not family. But you're my friend, right?" How could she deny that? And Amanda complicated things too. Initially formal and distant, she began opening up in small moments. A joke about an annoying business partner, a tired sigh after a difficult meeting, a confession about missing her father. "Sometimes I still pick up the phone to call him," Amanda said one morning while drinking the coffee Sarah had prepared. "I forget for a second that he's not here anymore. Then I remember, and it's like losing him all over again." Sarah knew exactly what she meant. She still had moments where she'd turn to comment on something to David, only to find empty space where he used to be. "It happens less often with time," was all she could say. "But it never completely goes away." "No, it never completely goes away." They sat in silence, two widows sharing a pain that needed no words. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, continuing. 3 months later, the routine was established and working well. Amanda hadn't had any crises since starting proper treatment. Emma seemed happier, more secure, and Sarah was beginning to feel alive again. She wouldn't admit it aloud, but there was something comforting about having a purpose beyond cleaning floors. Caring for Amanda, even in a limited capacity, rekindled something she thought had died. But the peace didn't last. Everything began unraveling on a Thursday afternoon. Amanda had an important meeting with her company's partners. She'd been nervous all morning. "It's about the expansion to the north," she explained to Sarah while reviewing presentations. "If I can get this project approved, I guarantee myself another 5 years as president. If I fail—" She didn't finish the sentence, but she didn't need to. "Did you take your medication?" "Yes, twice, triple-checked." "Then you're ready." Amanda looked at Sarah with something like gratitude before hurrying out. 3 hours later, Martha received a frantic call from Jessica, Amanda's secretary. "Mrs. Richardson fell ill during the meeting. They're taking her to the hospital." Sarah's world spun. She picked up Emma from school and went straight to Mercy Medical Center, the same hospital where she worked. They found Amanda conscious but visibly shaken. She'd had a seizure in the middle of the presentation. Nothing serious, quickly controlled, but in front of all the partners. "It's over," Amanda murmured, staring into space. "It's all over." "What happened?" Sarah asked quietly. "The medication was working. I was fine. And then, at the worst possible moment, she covered her face with her hands. They saw. Everyone saw. Emma was pale with fear. "Is Mommy going to be okay?" "She will, sweetie," Sarah assured, though her own heart was racing. Michael appeared to examine Amanda. His tests showed the medication was at adequate levels in her blood. "It was the stress," he explained. "Even with treatment, high-stress events can trigger seizures. It's rare, but it happens." "Rare?" Amanda laughed humorlessly. "Of course it would happen to me." Michael left to give them privacy, and Sarah was left alone with Amanda and Emma. "Aunt Marie," Emma tugged her sleeve. "Is Mommy going to lose her job?" "Emma, the adults are talking," Amanda said automatically. "No," Sarah interrupted. "Emma deserves to know what's happening. She deserves the truth." Amanda looked at her daughter, at those scared but brave eyes. "Maybe you're right." She took a deep breath and pulled Emma closer. "Mommy has a condition called epilepsy. Sometimes my brain doesn't work right for a few seconds, and I have what we call a seizure. It's like when the computer freezes and needs to restart. Does it hurt? No, sweetie, it's just scary. And today it happened in front of important people from my work. They might think I can't be the boss of the company anymore. But you take medicine to get better, right? Aunt Marie helps you." "Yes, but sometimes the medicine isn't enough when I'm very nervous." Emma thought for a moment. "Then you need to be less nervous. You need to work less and play with me more." The simplicity of the child's solution drew a sad smile from Amanda. "If only it were that easy, dear." But in the following days it became clear the situation was serious. Richard Cooper, the company's most senior and influential partner, called an emergency meeting. The subject, Amanda's ability to continue as president. "They're going to remove me," Amanda told Sarah the morning of the meeting. "Richard has been waiting for an opportunity like this for years." "Can't you fight it?" "With what argument?" "That the condition is controlled. They saw me have a seizure right in the middle of a presentation. I'm sure they've already told the clients, the suppliers. My credibility is destroyed." "And you're just going to let it happen?" Amanda looked at her, surprised by the harshness in Sarah's voice. "What do you want me to do?" "Fight. Show them you're more than a diagnosis. Show them you're still the best person to lead that company. You don't understand. In the business world, any weakness is used against you. Then change the business world. Be the first to say, 'Yes, I have epilepsy, and I'm still exceptional at what I do.'" Amanda shook her head. "It's easy to say when you have nothing to lose." The words were like a slap. Sarah recoiled. "You're right. I have nothing to lose, because I've already lost everything. I lost my husband, my career, my confidence, but you have a daughter who looks at you like you're the strongest woman in the world. You have a company your father built with his own hands. You have everything to fight for. And you're willing to give up because cruel people might judge you." Amanda opened her mouth to respond, but found no words. The meeting happened that afternoon. Sarah wasn't present, but learned everything from Jessica, who called as soon as it ended. Amanda came prepared. She openly admitted her medical condition, presented detailed medical reports, showed she had been following rigorous treatment. She argued that one isolated episode under extreme stress didn't make her unfit to lead, but it wasn't enough. Richard proposed a vote. Either Amanda temporarily stepped down as president for health reasons, or they would call a general meeting to discuss her permanent removal. It was a low blow. A temporary leave sounded softer, more compassionate. But everyone knew temporary would become permanent. Amanda returned home defeated. She could barely look at Emma. Sarah found her locked in the office, looking at photos of her father. "I disappointed him," said Amanda. "He built all this and I destroyed it in 3 years." "You haven't destroyed anything. You're sick, Amanda. Sickness isn't a character flaw, but it's a competence flaw in their eyes." "Then they're wrong." Amanda finally looked at her. "How are you so strong? You lost everything and you're still standing. I lost one meeting and I'm falling apart." "I'm not strong," Sarah admitted. "I survive. There's a difference. You want to know the truth? There are days I can barely get out of bed. Days I look at my janitor uniform and want to scream. But I get up, I put it on, I go, because that's what we do, we survive. I don't know if I can survive this. You can, because you have something I don't. What? A daughter who needs to learn that strong women aren't those who never fall. They're the ones who get back up after falling. The words hung in the air. Amanda wiped her eyes. Richard gave me a week to decide. Voluntary leave or public fight. And what do you want to do? I don't know anymore. In the following days, Amanda stayed secluded. She barely ate, barely slept. Emma was worried, and Sarah did her best to keep the child distracted. It was during one of these distractions that Sarah discovered something disturbing. She was helping Emma with a school project about professions when the girl commented, "My grandpa always said the company was everything, that nothing was more important than the company. He said that, yes, and Mummy took it seriously. And she always says she needs to be strong for the company, that she can't disappoint Grandpa." Sarah felt something odd about those words. She decided to investigate. Martha, who had worked for the family for 15 years, was more than willing to share. Mr. William was a difficult man, said the cook. He loved his daughter, that was obvious, but he was also too demanding. After his wife passed away, when Amanda was only 12, he raised the girl to be his successor. No dolls or parties. It was all studying business, preparing for the corporate world. That sounds harsh. It was. Amanda grew up thinking she needed to be perfect to be loved. When her father found out she had epilepsy at 16, he hid it from everyone. Said it was weakness, that competitors would use it against her, made her promise she'd never tell. Sarah felt her anger growing. He made her hide a serious medical condition. For years, she only started proper treatment after he passed away, and even then she still hid it. I think she was afraid of disappointing him, even after... Martha didn't finish the sentence. Everything made sense now. Amanda's fear wasn't just about the board members. It was the ghost of her father, the feeling that she would never be good enough. Sarah shared this information with Michael, who agreed to do a psychological evaluation of Amanda. She is carrying trauma that goes beyond her physical condition, explained Michael. This is affecting how she deals with everything. Would she accept therapy? Probably not. But it might be necessary if we want her to truly get better. Sarah decided to confront Amanda. She was direct. Your father made you hide the epilepsy, didn't he? Amanda froze. Who told you? It doesn't matter. Is it true? He was protecting me. Was he? Or was he protecting the company's image? Amanda fell silent. Did your father love you? Sarah pressed. Of course he loved me. Then why did he make you feel like you had to be perfect to deserve that love? Tears began to stream down Amanda's face. Because I wasn't good enough. I never was. My mother was perfect, beautiful, elegant, smart. When she died, I tried to fill that void, but I never could. You were a child. It wasn't your job to fill any void. But it was. I saw the sadness in his eyes. I needed to do something, so I became what he needed, the perfect successor, the strong daughter, the flawless executive. And you hid parts of yourself for that. Amanda sobbed. I thought if he found out about the epilepsy, he would love me less. He would see me as defective. And when he found out, he said I had to be stronger than that I couldn't let a brain flaw define me, that I had to prove I was capable despite the illness. Sarah felt like screaming. That man, even dead, was still hurting his daughter. Amanda, listen, your father was wrong. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to hide parts of yourself, and you definitely don't need to prove anything to a ghost. But the company is not you. It doesn't define your worth. Emma does. The way you fight, how you survive, how you love. That defines you. Amanda cried as she probably hadn't since she was a child, and Sarah, breaking her own rule of emotional distance, hugged her. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. After that day, something changed between them. They were no longer just caretaker and boss or nurse and patient. They were two women who understood each other's pain. Amanda started therapy, reluctantly at first, but gradually opening up. She worked through deep issues about her father, her self-image, about what truly mattered in life. And meanwhile, Sarah was changing too. Taking care of Amanda was forcing her to confront her own demons. One night, she returned home and found a box she hadn't opened in 8 years. Inside were David's things, photos, letters, the wedding ring she hadn't been able to wear after the funeral. For the first time, Sarah could look at them without feeling only pain. There were good memories too. Laughter, trips, shared dreams. "I miss you," she whispered to his photo. "But I think I'm ready to live again. Not without you, but despite you not being here." She didn't realize she was crying until she felt the tears fall on the photos. Meanwhile, at the Richardson house, Emma was having her own journey. The girl, who used to be quiet and reserved, began to express herself more. She talked about feelings, about fears, about dreams. "Aunt Marie, can I ask you something?" she said one afternoon. "Of course, sweetie. Do you like my mum?" The question caught Sarah off guard. "Of course I do." "No, I mean, do you like her as a friend or just because she pays you?" Sarah stopped what she was doing and looked at Emma. "In the beginning it was just a job, but now I care about your mother, truly. And about me, especially about you." Emma smiled, but there was something more in her expression. "My mother is happier, she laughs more, and she doesn't get as angry when I ask questions. It's because she's taking better care of herself." "It's because of you," Emma corrected. "You made her better." Sarah didn't know how to respond. Was that true? Amanda's decision week was ending. Richard Cooper called personally demanding an answer. "Tomorrow morning, first thing, either you announce your leave or I call the assembly." Amanda hung up the phone and looked at Sarah. "What should I do?" "I don't know. What do you want to do?" "I want to fight, but I don't know how." Sarah thought for a moment. "What if you didn't fight alone?" "What do you mean?" "What if you showed them that you have support, that you're not hiding anything, that you're getting proper treatment, and that you have qualified people helping you?" "How?" "Take me to the meeting." Amanda's eyes widened. "You? Why not?" "I'm your official caregiver, but I'm also your unofficial health assistant. I monitor your symptoms, make sure you take your medications. I can identify signs of a crisis. If they see that you have this support, they might reconsider." "Sarah, you don't need to expose yourself like that." "I know, but I want to. You fought your demons. I need to fight mine, and that means stopping hiding." Amanda held Sarah's hand. "Thank you." The next morning, they entered the meeting room together. The partners looked surprised at Sarah. "Who is this?" Richard asked rudely. "This is Sarah Miller. She's a caregiver, but she's also a qualified nurse who accompanies me daily. And before you say anything, yes, I have epilepsy. No, that doesn't make me incompetent. I've been following strict treatment, I have constant medical monitoring, and I have qualified professional support." Sarah stepped forward. "I can provide detailed reports on Dr. Richardson's condition. She hasn't had any episodes beyond that one occasion in 3 months. Her medication levels are stable. She is completely capable of performing her duties." Richard looked at her with disdain. "And we should believe a caregiver because I was a nurse for 15 years before becoming a caregiver, and because, unlike you, I care about Amanda as a person, not just as a pawn in a power game." The silence was absolute. Amanda continued. "You want to remove me? Then have the courage to do it openly. Call the assembly. Expose to all the shareholders that you're removing the president, not for incompetence, not for poor results, but because she has a treatable medical condition. See how the market will react. See how clients will react when they find out this company discriminates against people with disabilities." Richard paled. He hadn't thought of that angle. "No one is discriminating." "No? Then why is controlled epilepsy a problem? If I had diabetes and controlled it with insulin, would you remove me? If I had high blood pressure and controlled it with medication, would it be different?" The other partners began to shift uncomfortably. "Richard, be honest," Amanda continued, her voice firm. "You want my position, you always have. You think you should have been president when my father died. and you're using my illness as an excuse. That's absurd, is it? Then why did you never question my decisions until now? Why did you wait for a vulnerable situation to attack? Richard had no answer. One of the other partners, Dr. Andrew Park, spoke for the first time. Amanda is right. We're letting fear and prejudice guide decisions that should be based on results, and her results are excellent. The company has grown 20% under her leadership. Thank you, Andrew, Amanda said. But, he continued, we also have a responsibility to the shareholders. We need to ensure there are contingency plans. If you have a crisis during an important negotiation, what happens? It was Sarah who answered, "That's why I'm here. I can accompany her in high-stress situations. I can identify early signs of a crisis. I can act immediately if necessary. It's discreet, but effective support." "And how much will this cost the company?" asked another partner. "Nothing," Amanda replied. "I'll pay out of my own pocket. The company won't bear any burden." The discussions continued for over 2 hours. In the end, they reached a compromise. Amanda would remain as president, but she would have to provide monthly medical reports to an independent committee. And Sarah would be officially hired as an executive assistant, with the real role of health support. It wasn't ideal, but it was a victory. When they left the meeting, Amanda hugged Sarah tightly. "You saved me. Again." "No, you saved yourself. I was just there to hold your hand." In the following months, things began to stabilize. Amanda continued to lead the company, proving every day that epilepsy didn't define her. She learned to delegate more, to trust her team, to balance work and personal life. Sarah, in turn, officially took on the role of executive assistant. She hadn't yet returned to full nursing, but it was a step that David would be proud of. Emma grew up seeing her mother as a warrior, not as a weak person, and that changed everything. But the peace wouldn't last forever, because there was something no one had noticed yet. Richard Cooper hadn't given up. He was just waiting for the right opportunity to strike again, and that opportunity came 6 months later. The company was negotiating the biggest acquisition in its history, a merger with a group from the South that would multiply the size of the business. It was the dream of Amanda's father, the crowning achievement of years of work. But 2 days before closing the deal, an article appeared in the country's leading business magazine. President of Richardson Enterprises hides medical condition from shareholders. Undisclosed epilepsy raises questions about transparency. The article was devastating. It cited anonymous sources within the company, revealed details about Amanda's medical history, suggested that she had deceived shareholders for years. The market reacted immediately. The company's stock fell 8% in one day, and the Southern Group threatened to cancel the merger. "It was Richard," Amanda said, her hands shaking as she read the article for the 10th time. "He leaked everything, waited for the perfect moment to destroy me." Sarah was furious. "This is illegal, leaking private medical information." "But how do we prove it? He's too smart to leave traces." Emma, who was doing homework in the living room, heard everything. The girl, now almost 9 years old, was more mature than many children her age. "Mommy, are you going to be okay?" Amanda forced a smile. "I always am, aren't I?" But they knew that this time was different. The damage was done. Trust was broken. Sarah spent the night researching, making calls, talking to Jennifer and Michael. There had to be a way to reverse this. It was Jennifer who suggested, what if you flipped the narrative? Instead of being defensive, you could be proactive? How so? Amanda could give an interview, tell her story on her terms, show that she hid because society made her feel she had to hide, turn this into a conversation about discrimination in the corporate environment. Sarah brought the idea to Amanda, who initially resisted. "That will expose me even more." "You're already exposed." "But now you can control the narrative." Amanda thought about it for days. Finally, she agreed. The interview was given to the country's largest newspaper. Amanda told everything, about how her father made her hide her condition since she was a teenager, about the fear of appearing weak, about how she almost destroyed herself trying to be perfect, and about how she finally learned that true strength is accepting vulnerabilities. Sarah was sitting beside her during the interview, holding her hand off camera. The impact was immediate and unexpected. Hundreds of people reached out. Executives, businesswomen, professionals at all levels sharing similar stories. Hiding chronic illnesses, avoiding treatments for fear of appearing weak, suffering in silence. A movement began. Transparency is strength became a trending topic. Companies began reviewing health policies. And the group from the South? They not only maintained the merger but issued a statement praising Amanda's courage. The company's stock not only recovered, but rose beyond its previous value. Richard Cooper, seeing that his plan had backfired, submitted his resignation. He didn't admit to leaking information, but everyone knew. The victory was sweet, but Sarah knew there were still unresolved issues. One afternoon, while having coffee on the patio, Amanda asked, "Are you going to go back to being a real nurse?" Sarah had thought a lot about this. "I don't know. Maybe, but not in the same way as before." "How then?" "Maybe something focused on mental health, on helping people who hide illnesses out of fear or shame." "You'd be amazing at that." "You think so?" "I know. You helped me in ways doctors couldn't, because you understand not just the illness but the person." Sarah smiled. "And you? Are you going to keep working so much?" "Not like before. I finally understood that Emma needs me present, not perfect. And that I need time for myself too." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city below. "You know," Amanda began, hesitant, "you've become my best friend. My only real friend, actually." "I said I didn't want emotional involvement," Sarah reminded her, but she was smiling. "And how long did you keep that promise? 3 weeks?" "Less. Probably 3 days." They laughed. "Seriously, Sarah, I don't know what would have become of me without you. You saved my life in more ways than you know. You saved mine too. I was dead inside when I met you, just surviving. Now I'm living again." Emma appeared on the patio, interrupting the moment. "Can I play in the garden?" "Yes, sweetie," Amanda answered. "Is Aunt Mary coming too?" Sarah looked at the girl, at this child who had become so important in her life. "Of course. Let's go." While they played in the garden, Sarah thought about how strange life was. 8 years ago, she had lost everything. She thought she would never be happy again. She thought caring for someone was impossible. But there she was, chasing after a girl in a yellow dress. Some things never changed. Emma still loved yellow. Laughing genuinely, feeling part of something bigger. It wasn't the life she had planned, but it was a good life. That evening, as Sarah was preparing to leave, Amanda stopped her. "I know you still live in that small apartment, and I was thinking, there's a cottage at the back of the property. My father used it as an office, but it's been empty for years. How about you live there?" "Amanda, I can't accept." "Why not? It would be more practical. You'd be close by if I needed you. And I'd like to have you nearby. Emma would like it." Sarah hesitated. Part of her wanted to accept immediately, but another part was afraid. Afraid of getting too attached, afraid of losing again. "I need to think." "No pressure. The offer stands." Sarah went home but couldn't sleep. She lay staring at the ceiling, thinking about what David would say. And then she remembered something he used to say, "Don't let the fear of losing stop you from loving." The next morning, she returned to the Richardson house with a decision. "I accept, but with conditions." Amanda smiled. "Always with conditions." "I'll pay rent, a fair market value." Sarah. "Non-negotiable. I need to maintain my independence. I need to know I'm here because I choose to be, not because I need to be." "All right, what else?" "My space is mine. You can't show up unannounced, even though it's technically your property." "Agreed. And Emma can't use this as an excuse to avoid responsibilities. She still needs to do homework, clean her room, have a routine, obviously." They shook hands, sealing the agreement. The move was surprisingly easy. Sarah didn't have many things. The cottage was small but cozy. A living room, a bedroom, a bathroom. Perfect. Emma was radiant. Now you're practically family. Emma, I'm still your mother's employee. Yeah, but you're like family too, chosen family. The term stayed with Sarah. Chosen family. She liked that. The following months brought a new routine. Sarah would wake up, have coffee in the cottage, walk to the main house to start the day. She accompanied Amanda to important meetings, made sure medications were taken, monitored symptoms. But there were also simple moments. Dinners together, Sunday movies, helping Emma with school projects, long conversations on the porch about everything and nothing. One day Martha commented, "You know, I've worked for this family for 15 years. I've never seen Mrs. Amanda so happy. And Emma is thriving. I think it's because Amanda finally accepted asking for help. It's more than that. It's because you brought love to this house. Not romantic love, but the love that comes from truly caring. This house was cold, even with all the luxury. Now it has warmth." Sarah didn't know what to say. She had never thought of her role in that way. At work, things were changing too. Amanda's interview had inspired real changes. The company implemented a support program for employees with chronic conditions. Other companies followed suit. Amanda was invited to speak at events about inclusive leadership. She accepted some, always taking Sarah along. "You should speak too," suggested Amanda after a particularly successful talk. "Me? Don't say you're just a caretaker. You're a healthcare professional, a survivor, a strong woman who rebuilt her life. People need to hear your story too." Sarah considered it. Maybe Amanda was right. At the next talk, she took the stage. She talked about David, about how she lost everything, about how she rebuilt herself, about how caring for Amanda taught her to care for herself again. The response was overwhelming. Dozens of people approached her afterward, wanting to know more, seeking advice, sharing stories. It was Jennifer who suggested, "Have you ever thought about formalizing this? Maybe a support group for caregivers who lost people and are afraid to care again." The idea took root. With help from Jennifer and Michael, Sarah began structuring something. Bi-weekly meetings, space provided by the hospital, group therapy. The group grew quickly. Sarah discovered there were hundreds of people like her, paralyzed by guilt and fear. "You know," she said in one of the meetings, "when David died, I swore I'd never care for anyone again. I thought caring was making room for pain, but I was wrong. Caring is making room for love. And yes, love can hurt. It can end in loss. But the moments of connection, of making a difference in someone's life, are worth it." An elderly lady in the audience with grey hair and teary eyes raised her hand. "My husband died 5 years ago. My daughter wants me to care for my grandchildren, but I'm afraid. And if something happens to them under my care?" Sarah understood that fear perfectly. That fear never completely goes away, but you can learn to live with it, to recognize it, but not let it control you. Your grandchildren need their grandmother's love, and you need the joy they can bring. The woman began to cry, but it was a cry of relief. After the meeting, Amanda was waiting. She had discreetly watched from the back of the room. "You're amazing," she said simply. "I still feel like a fraud sometimes, like I have no right to advise anyone." "Sarah, you turned your pain into purpose. That's not fraud. That's survival at its best." Meanwhile, Emma was growing up. Now almost 10 years old, she was an articulate and confident girl. She openly talked about her mother's epilepsy in class, educating her classmates about the condition. "A girl at school said Mom was weird for having epilepsy," Emma told Sarah. "I said she was the weird one for being ignorant." Sarah tried not to laugh. "Emma, we can't call people ignorant." "But she was. She said epilepsy was contagious, like it was the flu." "And what did you do?" I explained. I brought material from the internet. I showed her that epilepsy is a neurological condition, not a contagious disease. Now she knows." "That was very mature of you. Aunt Mari says knowledge fights fear. And you were right." Sarah smiled. She had indeed said that during one of their many homework sessions and life conversations. One evening, Amanda called a family meeting. The three of them sat in the living room. I have something to tell you, Amanda began nervously. Sarah felt a knot in her stomach. What could it be? Robert Mitchell, from the group we merged with, asked me to dinner. Several times. And I accepted the last one. Emma's eyes widened. Like a date? Like a date, Amanda confirmed. Her cheeks flushed. And how was it? Sarah asked, surprised to feel a strange pang. It was good. Really good, actually. He's a widower, too. Lost his wife 3 years ago. He understands the pain, and he doesn't mind the epilepsy. In fact, he thought it was brave that I went public with it. Mom's going to date, Emma jumped excitedly. Easy, honey. It was just one dinner. But did you like him? Amanda hesitated. I did, but I'm scared. What if it goes wrong? What if Emma doesn't like him? What if it goes right? Sarah gently interrupted. You deserve to be happy, Amanda. You deserve companionship, love, partnership. And you? Have you ever thought about meeting someone? Sarah thought of David. The pain was still there, but it wasn't paralyzing anymore. Sometimes, but I'm not ready yet. Maybe I never will be, and that's okay. You're not alone, Emma said simply. You have us. The three hugged, each navigating their own journeys. But together, Robert Mitchell started appearing more often. He was a kind, patient man who clearly cared for Amanda. He treated Emma with genuine affection without trying to force a fatherly role. Sarah watched him with initial skepticism. She was protective of Amanda and Emma now. But gradually she saw that Robert was genuine. Do you love her? Sarah asked directly one day when they were alone. Robert didn't seem offended by the bluntness. It's too early for love, but I care deeply, and I see potential for something lasting. She comes with complications. We all do. I have mine too. I lost Karen to cancer. I spent 2 years caring for her, watching her fade away. I know what pain is. I know what fear is. And I know Amanda is strong in a way Karen never could be because she was too sick. Amanda is sick too. Amanda has a manageable condition. It's different. And she has you, making sure she takes care of herself. Karen didn't have that. There was truth in those words. Sarah decided to give Robert a chance. The months passed. The relationship between Amanda and Richard flourished. Emma loved them together. And Sarah was happy, genuinely happy. Her support group had grown. She was seriously considering going back to college for a graduate degree in psychology. She wanted to help caregivers on a larger scale. Michael offered guidance. There are specific scholarships for healthcare professionals returning to school. You qualify. I'd have to study and work. You already juggle 1,000 things. Studying would just be one more ball in the air. Sarah applied and was accepted. When she told Amanda and Emma, the reaction was explosive. This is amazing. Amanda hugged her tightly. I always knew you were meant for more. I already have more. I have you. And now you'll have even more. You'll be able to help so many people, Sarah. Professionally, formally. It's beautiful. Emma was especially excited. Does that mean you're going to be like a doctor? A psychologist, sweetie? It's different. But you'll still help people. Yes. Then it's the same thing. You're going to save people. Like you saved Mommy. Like you saved me. Sarah knelt to the girl's height. Emma, I didn't save you. You saved yourselves. I just held your hand along the way. So you're going to hold more people's hands? Exactly. Emma smiled. That sweet smile Sarah had learned to love. I want to be like you when I grow up. You're already better than me. You're brave, kind, smart. You'll be amazing no matter what you choose to do. The academic journey was challenging. Sarah studied in the early morning, after a full day of work. She took exams exhausted, wrote papers on tight deadlines, questioned if she could do it, but Amanda was always there, encouraging. Emma helped in her own way, doing her homework alongside Sarah, bringing her coffee, giving hugs when it got too hard. 2 years later, Sarah graduated. The ceremony was small but meaningful. Jennifer and Michael were there, Martha, and of course Amanda, Richard, and Emma. When they called her name, Sarah walked onto the stage with tears in her eyes. She looked at the audience and saw the people who had become her family. She saw David in her memory, smiling proudly. This diploma was for him, for her, for all who had been lost but found their way back. After the ceremony, Emma ran up to her. "Aunt Marie, you did it!" "We did it, sweetie. I never would have gotten here without you." Amanda handed her a gift. Inside the box was a name badge. Dr. Sarah Miller, clinical psychologist. "It's too early for this," Sarah laughed through tears. "It's never too early to recognize who you are," Amanda said. "You spent so long seeing yourself as the caretaker who lost everything, but you are so much more. You are the woman who rebuilt, the caregiver who returned to caring, the fighter who never gave up even when she wanted to." Richard, who had become an important part of their lives, approached. "Congratulations, Sarah. Amanda never stops talking about your work." "She exaggerates." "I never exaggerate," Amanda protested. "You transformed our lives, and now you'll transform so many others' lives." The celebration party was at the Richardson house. Over 50 people came, colleagues from the hospital, support group members, friends from college. Sarah looked around in wonder. 8 years ago, she was completely alone. Now, she was surrounded by love. During the party, Michael pulled her aside. "Jennifer and I are thinking of opening a community clinic, focused on mental health for low-income families. We wanted to know if you'd be interested in joining." "Michael, I just graduated." "Exactly. You come with a fresh perspective, and you understand this population in a unique way. You've lived the financial struggle. You know the pain of loss. You can connect with these people in ways traditional therapists can't." Sarah Miller thought about the proposal. It was scary, it was risky, it was perfect. "When do we start?" Michael smiled. "How about in 3 months? That gives you time to rest and prepare." 3 months, it's a deal. The clinic opened in a suburban neighborhood. Small, but functional. Sarah shared the space with 3 other therapists, all committed to affordable care. Amanda Richardson offered startup funding, but Sarah refused. "I need to do this on my own, but thank you." However, Amanda found another way to help. She organized a charity dinner, inviting business owners and executives. The money raised was donated to the clinic without Sarah being able to protest. "You're impossible," Sarah said, but she was smiling. "I learned from the best." The first few months were intense. Sarah handled difficult cases, mothers who had lost children, fathers who had lost jobs and self-esteem, children dealing with trauma. Each case touched her heart in different ways, but she discovered she had a talent for it. Her own pain made her empathetic. Her journey made her hopeful. She could look into the eyes of someone who had lost everything and honestly say, "I know how it feels, and I'm here to tell you that you can survive. You can be happy again." One patient in particular left a mark on Sarah. Dorothy, a 58-year-old woman who had lost her husband and was caring alone for her special needs granddaughter. "I can't take it anymore," Dorothy would cry during sessions. "I want to give up." Sarah recognized that despair. She had felt it herself. "Dorothy, have you thought about asking for help? Who's going to help me? My daughter ran away. My husband is gone. I'm alone." "You're not alone. There are support groups. There are social programs. There's a whole network you haven't accessed yet." Over months, Sarah helped Dorothy rebuild her life, connected her with resources, helped her set healthy boundaries, worked through trauma and guilt. When Dorothy genuinely smiled in a session, Sarah felt her heart warm. This was why she had come back, for moments like that. Meanwhile, Amanda's life was evolving too. She and Robert got engaged. The proposal was simple but emotional, in the garden of the house, with Emma and Sarah as the only witnesses. "Will you be my maid of honor?" Amanda asked Sarah afterward. "Your maid of honor? At the wedding, you practically guided me here. Without you, I wouldn't be alive, let alone happy and in love." Sarah hugged her friend. It would be an honor. The wedding was intimate, just close family and dear friends. Amanda looked beautiful, radiant in a way Sarah had never seen before. During the speech, Robert mentioned Sarah. I know traditionally we thank parents, godparents, friends, but today I want to especially thank Sarah, because without her Amanda wouldn't be here. Not just alive, but whole, complete, happy. Sarah, you saved the woman I love, and for that I owe you everything. Sarah was openly crying. Amanda held her hand throughout the speech. Emma, as the maid of honor, was taking her role very seriously. At 13, she had become an impressive young woman, dedicated to her studies, passionate about social causes, determined to make a difference. "Aunt Mary," she said during the party, "I've decided. I'm going to be a neurologist." "Really?" "Yes. I want to help people like Mom. I don't want anyone to have to hide who they are out of fear." Sarah hugged the girl with pride. "You're going to be amazing. Only if I'm as good as you." Life moved at a gentle pace over the next few years. Sarah established herself as a respected therapist. Her compassionate yet direct approach attracted patients of all ages. The support group for caregivers became a benchmark. They now had weekly meetings with a waiting list. Amanda balanced her professional and personal life with a harmony that seemed impossible years ago. The company thrived under her leadership, and she had become a spokesperson for transparency in corporate mental health. Robert brought stability and love into their lives. He and Amanda complemented each other perfectly, respecting individual spaces but building something beautiful together. Emma grew up witnessing a model of strength, vulnerability, love, and resilience. And Sarah found peace. Not the peace of forgetting David, not the peace of erasing the pain, but the peace of integrating all of it into a rich and meaningful life. She still visited his grave once a year on the anniversary of his departure, and each year the tears were a little less bitter, a little more grateful. "I did it, David," she whispered during one of those visits. "I survived. More than that, I thrived. I found purpose again, found family again, found happiness again. And I know you would be proud." The wind blew, rustling the tree leaves. Sarah chose to believe it was David agreeing. 10 years after that first day at the hospital, Sarah was at the Richardson house for Sunday dinner, a tradition they had established. Emma, now 17, was excited. "I got into college, Gun," she announced, showing the letter. "Which one?" everyone shouted at once. "Medicine at the State University, full scholarship." The celebration was explosive. Amanda cried with pride. Robert lifted Emma in his arms despite her protests that she was too big. And Sarah looked at that girl she had met when she was just a scared 7-year-old child. Now, a confident young woman ready to conquer the world. "Do you remember," Sarah said later when they were alone, "that day you ran up to me in the hospital hallway?" "How could I forget?" Emma laughed. "You looked so lost, like you didn't know whether to help or run away." "I was lost. I was sure I would never care for anyone again, that I would never care again. And then I forced you to care. You and your mother saved me as much as I saved you." Emma hugged her. "You know you're going to be like my mom in college, right? Calling all the time to make sure I'm eating right, studying, sleeping." "I won't call all the time," Sarah protested. "Yes, you will, and I'll love every call." That night, when everyone had left and Sarah walked back to her cottage, she stopped and looked at the main house. The lights were still on. She could see the silhouettes of Amanda and Robert on the porch, talking about something that made them laugh. She could imagine Emma in her room, probably already researching the medical program. It was her family, not by blood, but by choice, by love, by shared survival and joys celebrated together. And as she opened the cottage door, Sarah realized something profound. She was happy, completely, genuinely happy. The pain of David would never completely disappear. There would always be a part of her that wished she had had more time with him, but she had learned to carry that pain without letting it define her. She had learned that life after loss was possible, that love after grief existed, that purpose could be rebuilt. There were still difficult days. Days when she woke up sad for no apparent reason. Days when the longing tightened. Days when she questioned decisions. But there were also beautiful days. Days of laughter with patients who were finally getting better. Days of pride watching Emma grow up. days of gratitude for having Amanda as a friend, days of simple peace in her little cottage. And Sarah had learned that it was the beautiful days that made the difficult ones bearable. Several months later, during a conference on mental health, Sarah was invited to give a keynote speech. The theme, Rebuilding After Traumatic Loss. She stepped onto the stage nervously. There were over 500 people in the audience. 12 years ago, she began, her voice trembling slightly, I lost my husband, and with him I lost my purpose, my identity, my will to live. I was a nurse, a caregiver by nature and profession. But when I failed to save the most important person, I swore I would never care for anyone again. She told the whole story, the hospital, Emma running to her, Amanda fainting, the reluctant agreement, the journey back to life. And the lesson I learned, she concluded, is that healing is not linear. Rebuilding is not perfect. There will be setbacks, there will be doubts, there will be moments when you want to give up. But if you keep going, one step at a time, one day at a time, you will discover that you have built something beautiful from the ashes. The speech received a standing ovation. Dozens of people approached her afterward, sharing their own stories of loss and rebuilding. One woman in particular caught Sarah's attention. She was about 70 years old with completely white hair and eyes full of tears. I lost my son 20 years ago, the woman said, and I spent all these years thinking I would never be happy again. But listening to you, maybe there is still hope. Sarah held her hands. There is always hope. It may be hidden, it may seem impossible, but it's there, and you deserve to seek it. Conversations like that reminded Sarah why she did what she did. Every person she helped was an honor to David's legacy. Every life touched was proof that pain could be transformed into purpose. Back home, Sarah reflected on her path. If someone had told her 12 years ago that she would be where she was now, she would never have believed it. But life had a funny way of surprising you. The cottage had become her sanctuary. She decorated it with personal touches, photos of David alongside photos of Amanda, Robert and Emma, psychology books mixed with novels, a small garden that she tended on Sunday mornings. It was a space that honored her past while celebrating her present. Emma appeared at the door one afternoon, a few months before leaving for college. Can I come in? Always, dear. The young woman sat in the small living room looking around. I never asked you. Do you miss being married? The question caught Sarah off guard. Sometimes. David was the great love of my life. But love comes in many forms. The love I feel for you, for your mother, for my patients, they are also real and deep. Did you never want to try again, find someone? Sarah thought honestly about the question. At first it seemed impossible. Then it seemed unnecessary. My life was so full in other ways, and now I'm open to the possibility, but I'm not actively looking. If it happens, great. If not, that's fine too. You're very wise, Aunt Mary. I'm not wise, dear. I just learned to be at peace with my journey. Emma was quiet for a moment. I'm afraid to leave. Afraid of leaving my mother. Afraid that something will happen and I won't be here. Sarah understood that fear intimately. Your mother is well cared for. She has Robert. Her medication is under control. She has a support network. And you won't be far, just a 2-hour drive. What if she needs me? Then you come back. But Emma, your mother wants you to live your life. She fought so hard for you to have every opportunity. Don't waste that out of fear. How do you do it? Let people go without fear? I don't let them go without fear. I let them go despite the fear. And I trust that if they are important, they will find their way back. Emma hugged Sarah tightly. Will you miss me? Every day, but I will also be proud every day. The day Emma left for college was emotional. Amanda tried to be strong, but cried openly. Robert helped load the suitcases with teary eyes, and Sarah remembered another farewell, many years ago. When she left David at the hospital for the last time, not knowing it would be the final time. But this was different. Emma wasn't leaving forever. She was going to grow up. Aunt Sarah, Emma hugged her last, thank you for everything, for saving my mom, for showing me that strength and vulnerability can coexist, for being my family. Thank you, dear, for teaching me that it's worth caring again. And then Emma was off, waving from the car window until she disappeared from sight. The first few months felt strange without Emma around. The house seemed quieter. Sunday dinners had an empty seat. But Emma called regularly. She talked about classes, new friends, and how much she loved medicine. I had my first neurology class today, she said excitedly in one call. And guess what it was about? Epilepsy. I raised my hand and shared about Mum. The professor said personal stories like that are important, that they remind us there's a person behind every diagnosis. Amanda, listening on speakerphone, cried with pride. Life went on, finding a new rhythm. Sarah expanded her clinic, hiring more therapists. The work grew sustainably, reaching more people. She also started writing, a book about grief, rebuilding, and purpose. It was a cathartic process, reliving her journey in words. Amanda read the first draft and insisted on writing the preface. I met Sarah Miller at the worst moment of my life, Amanda wrote. She was a caretaker I treated poorly, underestimated, and didn't see as a whole person. But she saw me, saw beyond the arrogance, beyond the illness, beyond the fear. She saw a woman who needed help and offered that help even when I didn't deserve it. This book tells her story, but it also tells mine. Because our stories are intertwined in an inseparably beautiful way. The book was published 2 years later. It wasn't a bestseller, but it reached the right people. Therapists used it as a reference, patients found it in times of need. Support groups discussed it, and every email Sarah received from someone saying the book helped validated all the effort. 15 years after that first meeting at the hospital, Sarah was at her clinic when she received a surprise visit. It was Dorothy, the patient who had been on the verge of collapse years earlier. "Dr. Sarah," she entered smiling, "I was passing through the area and had to stop to thank you in person." Sarah hugged her. "Dorothy, how are you?" "Amazing. My granddaughter is thriving. We finally got proper support. And I'm happy. Truly. That's wonderful. And it's thanks to you. You showed me that asking for help isn't weakness, that I didn't have to do everything alone. It changed my life." Conversations like that never lost their impact. Sarah always got emotional seeing transformations. That evening during Sunday dinner, she shared about the visit. "Moments like that remind me why I came back," she said. "Why I broke my promise to never care for anyone again." Amanda smiled. "And I'm thankful every day that you broke that promise." "Me too," Robert agreed. "Because without you, we wouldn't have this family." The word family still warmed Sarah's heart. Chosen family. Family built through shared pain and celebrated joy. Emma came home for summer break. She had grown even more now, 20 years old, confident and passionate about medicine. "Aunt Sarah, can you believe it? My medical ethics professor asked me to speak about informed consent and transparency with patients. I used Mum's story as an example. And what did you say? That doctors sometimes forget patients are people first, diagnoses second. That my mother was treated as a problem to be hidden when she should have been treated as a person deserving dignity and transparency." Amanda, listening, discreetly wiped her eyes. "My daughter, the future revolutionary doctor. I learned from the best." Emma looked at Amanda and Sarah. Two women who refused to be defined by pain or illness or society's expectations. That summer, something unexpected happened. Sarah was invited to an international conference on trauma and reconstruction. She hesitated to accept. It would be her first international trip since David had passed away. "You have to go," Amanda insisted. "Your message needs to be heard beyond our borders." "But what if?" "No, what ifs. You'll go, you'll shine, and you'll come back with new ideas for your clinic." Sarah went. The conference in Lisbon was transformative. She met professionals from around the world, shared experiences, learned new approaches, and for the first time in years, she allowed herself to be just Sarah. Not the caretaker who became a therapist, not the widow who rebuilt, just Sarah. It was liberating. It was. On the last day of the conference, she visited the ocean. She stood on the beach watching the waves, thinking about everything she had lived through. "I did it, David. she whispered to the wind. I really did. I didn't just survive, I thrived. And for the first time she felt true peace about his passing. Not the peace of forgetting, but the peace of honoring his memory by living fully. Back in the United States, Sarah returned with renewed energy. She implemented new techniques at the clinic, expanded the support group, began planning a second book. Amanda watched the changes with joy. You're shining, she commented one day. I'm happy, Sarah admitted. Genuinely, completely happy. And I'm so proud of you. The two friends hugged, two survivors who had found not just life after trauma, but joy, purpose, and love. End of story. And so, what did you think of this story? Whether you're from Burlington or anywhere in the United States where you're watching us, tell us in the comments. Do you believe Sarah and Amanda made the right decisions? We really want to know your opinion. Don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more moving stories like this one.